Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Truth That Heals podcast, a podcast where real people with real stories share their experiences and ultimately their truth that heals. I'm your host, Ryan Anthony Hernandez, and for today's episode, I am joined by artist Corinne Suter, sharing insights into her experiences within the art industry, her professional challenges, as well as her television appearance. We will also investigate the essential need for authentic, creative expression and its impact on personal development. Before we continue with the interview, if you would like to support this channel, I will be leaving a link in the show notes where you can help me and the Truth That Heals podcast continue to grow. Thank you and enjoy the episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Truth That Heals podcast. I'm with a very special guest. I'm here with Corinne Suter. Corinne, how are you doing today?
Hi, Ryan. I'm doing fine. Thanks so much. It's Sunday. It's a weekend. Yesterday, I've had a day off, which I have enjoyed a lot. And today, I've done already a little drawing that I've given to customer. So for me, I'm really enjoying myself and happy everything is going good at the moment.
That's amazing. So before we even really get started, can you introduce who you are and share with the audience what it is that you do?
My name is Corinne Suter. I'm living in Switzerland and I've been working as a freelance artist for 20 years now. That makes me look very old, but let's say I started at a quite young age. That has been like around 18 when I've decided to become a professional artist. Or I mean, you can't really actually decide that. It's more like you can give it a try or maybe a second try. And so my whole path is already taking many years, and I've gathered many experiences working in Switzerland, but also more and more working internationally. And what's very specific for my work is like I always love to kind of find new ways to express myself. Yeah, that's a bit the unique path that I go, that I always kind of come up with new things.
When was it in your life that sparked this love for art?
I think it's not even just the passion for art. It's even more like the desire, the need for an expression. Been 4 years old. That's already started. Like I felt like, there is many things that I see and hear and think, and then kind of I need to digest it in a way and canalize it. I had a huge desire to express myself at that time already, and I asked my parents if I could play the violin, and they were like, yeah, let's show you what a violin actually is. And I was like, yeah, but no, I want to just directly start and play tomorrow. And so they went with me, to musician and show me. I was like, yes, can I start now? So with 5 years old, finally they would then, let me start taking violin lessons, which when I look back now, is of course very young. So I'm very grateful that my parents were so supportive. So I started to play the violin at that age, and I went on for a very long time until I would say 22. It's been when my studies ended. So that's also when my time ended of taking violin lessons. And then I just played in so many, groups and bands. And I also played the piano and wrote some songs. And suddenly I've like realized to actually get free from what I would say, like have maybe a unique, very free, independent path and way of living. I had the idea to start something I could earn money with. And then was the big thinking, like, what would I do? And then I was like, yeah, I love art so much, and there's like no limits in art. And that's actually to me very inspiring, because you're never just there. It's just always new ways of expressing yourself and new people to get to know and new projects to do. So that's actually like with 18 when I was like, I want to really become an artist and but also really earn money. So then I'm my own boss and I can just do whatever I want. So I had this kind of romantic, naive idea. And luckily, sometimes it's good to have naive ideas, because then you also do it. And so I just, tried. And but I went the path of drawing because I thought I have more potential in maybe earning money by doing something customized, because to become a very successful violin player, there's lots of practice involved to, get the tunes out in the most harmonic way. And I'm not so well and so good in that thing of, practicing over and over alone for myself. I'm more the one, I love doing things in front of people or for people or together with people. So actually, that's why I rather changed into drawing instead of, or painting instead of, following the path of music.
When did you know that you wanted to do this for a profession?
I've been always very fast in my life. So sadly, I've also been fast with my first midlife crisis. Was just more like when I've been 16, 17. So usually people would connect that to an older age. So I make a little fun out of it, but actually it's not been that funny. It's really been a deeper crisis. I couldn't see the point in the whole thing, in the whole concept of living, which is kind of it's kind of keeping you from any progress. It's like that age that most people would develop some skills, or maybe you just have in mind to, maybe you do the studies later on, and because of that you go to the gymnasium, and those are always a higher aim, and that's why you're living. And the higher aim is maybe I will make this diploma and stuff. And I was like, but in the end I'm gonna die. I mean, so I build up all of this, and I can build up as much as I want. My body will not build up forever. It's gonna be, the zenith will be somewhere, and then it's out of my hands. And so this loss of control, that was very aware to me, that we don't have an actual control over how long we're gonna live. It's something probably more or less 80 years or something, and it's so limited. And then why to use so much energy in building up things? So for me, this knowledge about the limits of life and that it's gonna end, it was putting up the question, should we just sit to a lake, or I have to go to the sea, or could go to the sea, or to a nice place, to the mountains, and take a beer with some friends, and say just for, or not even to become, we've had people taking drugs, or not at that moment, but the junkies have been sitting in the park just next to the gymnasium. So I was like, I understand them in some way. It's not probably the best way of living, but it's a consequence that can be coming from a mindset that I've had. It's if there's no point, if there's no meaning, so why go to school and learn all those things? So that has been very tough to deal with, because you still have to go to school every day and kind of learn things that you're not always interested in. And I couldn't see the point at all. And even talked to a teacher, and he was like, yeah, but you're so young, why to think of this? I was like, I didn't choose to think of all of this, but now it's here and I can't put it away. I need answers, and also I've been at the same time very ambitious. So kind of a huge contradiction inside one person. On one side you say there's no point in everything, so just hang around and have a good time and don't care about tomorrow, because why, and then still a part of me was so ambitious. And that's questions that I've been dealing for about the last 20 years, and I found so many answers now, and I'm really glad and really relieved. And I think all those answers that I found, I'm probably gonna name some of them, that have helped me to become a quite happy person. And you wouldn't have expected that at that age. And art has been my consequence to say, okay, I decide I will live, or I could decide to not live, which would be very hard for my parents and friends and family and sisters. It's something kind of egoistic to not live in a certain way, because they will live on. So for me, it's being that question, okay, if I live, I want to have kind of a colorful, playful life that is not just an uninspiring other life, kind of following the path of others. Maybe it's going to be the tougher life because my path is not there already. So I will just create my own path and find it in the jungle of life. But it's been my consequence out of all those thoughts. And I went that path, and I'm still going it. And I'm glad I went that path, but sometimes sometimes, of course, I'm like, why am I not a bit more normal? And just be like, that's my job. And now is good. Now it's, it's evening, and chill a bit more, because actually my path is still dealing a lot with being very ambitious and all that,
How was it when you first started painting and you sold your first art piece? Can you share a bit about that?
Yeah, looking back, maybe I wouldn't even call it a piece of art, really. It was like some desperate try. But yeah, I'm rather a critical one. So actually, it's the way it has to be, kind of. It's like a bit of a drama. Like I've checked out agencies, and I mean, there was a time when Google hasn't existed for long, so I was just Googling, like some art or drawing agent, and then I found one. Actually, the first one I contacted, luckily he was like, okay, do you know that it's actually a male's business? It's actually we don't have any females. And I was like, yeah, even the better, because I mean, my parents, they they were the most modern ones. I mean, they split one job, they've been like 50% teachers, and like very modern, total equal. And so for me, it was like irritating, like, okay, if there's no males, that's positive for me. That even the more they need some females, to have some equality there as well. I think it's always healthy to, profit from both aspects, and I mean, all of the aspects. So for me, it was like a bit interesting that he even mentioned that, but it rather helped me, to even give more into that, and then say, okay, even the more, it's also kind of important. And so I have had my first job, and actually the picture that I've received was really in a bad quality. I mean, you can imagine, like, even today you get really bad pictures now sometimes when people would love to get drawn or something. Actually, I don't do it anymore, but the job that I've done today was like an exception, because it's been somebody from my village. So everybody from my village, hello. You're the exception. No, but and even today you could get bad pictures, and you still have to make sure it's good pictures. And but at that time, that was my one aspect of my job that I had to deal. But I didn't know, and I wouldn't dare saying I think it's bad. I would say it's on me to make something good out of it, and to kind of make an interpretation of what I see. And actually, the person has had on sunglasses, and I couldn't see the eyes, so that's also why I didn't draw the eyes. Really, was like dark sunglasses. I was thinking it looks kind of cool, but they were like, oh, it's so dark, But I mean, that's where I come from, at that time. I came from some dark moment, from some dark, so it was very authentic. But of course, this person was not so happy, and then they only paid like half of the price, and I was like, oh no, what does the agent think now? It was more like, will he give me other jobs? But he was like, come on, that's actually healthy to start. I mean, it's not easy, but it makes you like ambitious to say, when you realize it, you are like, okay, when I improve, when I get over those times, then and I will get better jobs, and I will get better settings. And so it's really worth working on your quality. And in the arts, it's not just about going higher, it's getting deeper in your expression.
What was it that kept you going despite those challenges?
I think what is always maybe underestimated is, like, people think when it comes to art, it's all about passion. They have this romantic point of view, like, because you love art so much, you will just go on automatically. And actually, I'm sure there is people like that, and that's wonderful. But in my life, there has been involved lots of, aspects of being desperate, and, the absence of an aim would put me into dark corners. And so for me, it was very important to have an aim, something, something that shines for me and like motivates me, to go there and maybe have a better point of view, like a bit you climb in the mountains, and you don't like the view too much. So that's maybe a reason to climb higher and get over the clouds. And it's not only be just the passion that drives you there. It's also been to get away from where I've been at the moment, to get to brighter places. So maybe it's about a good combination that drives us. I mean, I've created a formula that's like the 4D formula. So to get concrete, it's like dream, drive, direction. So a dream can give you a direction to go there. And at the same point, you see the dream is like, if I was there, that would make me maybe satisfied or happy even. And I'm here. So you need drive to go from here to there. So both, it's like the dream gives you drive and directions. But the absence of a dream, would, in my case, probably help to get into rather depressed episodes very easily. So in my life, that's been very important to realize that, okay, I just need something, some dreams that gives my life content and something, maybe something like a meaning. Maybe it's not the meaning, but maybe, it's like something to go for. Yeah, if you do art, it's very important that you have the right setting and to deal with the right people that are good for you and that give you back what you give to them, like in some way, if it's money or if it's emotions, they are not just, sucking your blood, they're really like, in certain way, you need to find a setting where there's a give and a take.
Where did you find inspiration besides art?
That's a big word, the inspiration. It's like, I think this need for me to understand things will always be the inspiration. When there's chaos inside me, it's hard to deal with that. And then I try to sort it like a sponge that takes in so many colors, and the sponge is full at a certain time. And when there's so many colors mixing, it's going to be brown or gray. And you can love these colors, of course, but I would say when it comes to emotions, it's maybe not really the emotions that are so wonderful. And so I have to kind of canalize all this chaos again, and bring back the colors that kind of, match for me. And this often inside chaos that I've had, that's actually the basic of kind of, sorting things out and canalizing them. And so this inner need is it that drives me. And that's also this need of understanding will always bring up metaphorisms in my mind. Like I'm a person that works a lot, intellectually with, I work a lot with symbols. And whenever I don't understand things, I will come up with like a symbolic answer. Like I have like so many symbols that represent complex theories, but they reduce them to something so simple like a tree or vacations. And I could, or I should talk about some of them. And so actually it's this chaos that drives me into finding answers. And actually those answers are to me sometimes very precious because I've had some pain inside me, and then it's like, oh, this is solving it all. And then I'm so happy about it. So I have a very positive feeling when it comes to those symbols and those theories. And then kind of when I want to share those with people around me. To me, that's inspiration.
Would you say that you are a storyteller, that you're kind of telling a story as you're painting?
I've maybe to give you two answers, because
Sure.
if I work for a customer, then I think it's a lot about, I need to have custom jobs because otherwise I couldn't, make a living out of it. So in my case, there's people, they have galleries, and even there's a setting, but they maybe are more free to find their expression, basically. In my case, it's often when I have a job and the customer, I try to please that customer but still stay authentic. So I will use the colors that I like. I will use the combinations of colors and the style and everything. But I would say I don't bring too much of the whole complexity of my personality inside it, because it's maybe more about the portrait, that it's about this person. Mm-hmm. And I maybe even not creative enough to always, bring in all the aspects, or I would maybe even feel a bit like dominant or egoistic, to the kind of, bring that in that painting for that person. But maybe there's always some hidden things that I will bring in, or that I will think like, this is representing something that I will not communicate, But when I do my own project, that's another story, because I think the reason to do it is really to say, this is the pure thing for me now. And here I can forget about, will it be looking nice for somebody? Will it be aesthetic for somebody else? It's really just about my point of view and the purest expression I can have to, or communicate my philosophy. It's maybe not a story. It's more like I really have the desire to communicate my philosophy. And it's a bit something that is a bit sad that in the end, the painting is there without me, And so people will have an interpretation. inspiration. And on the one hand, this is a very interesting progress. And on the other hand, my desire to actually share my philosophy also in words is big, and it's not possible through painting. I mean, it's all in there, but probably they will not understand exactly, the language of all those symbols the way I've been thinking them. But there I have just to be like, in the end, it's like I brought in some emotion, and maybe this emotion and these thoughts will create other emotions and thoughts in the other person. So there's like, it's also rich because everybody can have their own interpretation. And I have to be like a bit putting that out of my hands and have to, generosity to say, there's no control over what people will think and feel when they see it. And as there's something that I still have to learn, I think I'm improving there too.
Now, going back to, you starting your career and in the beginning of the career, did you find inspiration from other artists? And if so, who were those artists?
Of course, when I've been looking at Cézanne or Van Gogh and having the effect of, I would love to kind of paint like this, but he already painted like this. So let's find something unique for myself, But a painting also always does a lot to me, or art. It's always a huge interaction with art. And because at the beginning, I was so much into finding my unique path. That's why even I decided not to study art, because I was like, if I see too many other artists and pieces, I feel a bit afraid of suddenly I create something and I'm like, is this really my own style, or has it been the influence of all these other artists that I've, analyzed in art school? And so that's actually why I really decided actively not to go to galleries too much and not to, buy books or, look at too much of the pieces of other artists, just to have my own kind of pure approach. I just started to get a bit more open and like tell myself, come on, I mean, it's inspiring, and you will always go home and do your own thing. I have to be like enough self-confident and I know myself well enough to know that I will be not the one to, feel a huge pleasure in copying something. But I know there is always the potential of being influenced. Like a customer has, he's an art collector actually, and he has given me the huge task, really huge task, to say that to paint 80 square meters. So that's 4 floors. That's huge. Yeah. And it's really big. And then he said, well, what he loves when it comes to maybe aesthetics and style, it's the Guernica from Picasso. So first of all, it's like one of the most celebrated and maybe most gifted. It's hard to judge art, but he's really gifted artist. You can like it or not what he did, but of course he is very gifted, and also it's one of his like best or most famous pieces. So no pressure, it's like, okay, I don't even, it's not just to paint big, it's also to maybe give him some emotion that he sees in that piece. But then I was like, okay, let's put it away now. I've looked at the painting of Guernica, and I've even shown it to my son, and he was like, sometimes he's like, oh, art, everybody can do this or this, but he was like, okay, that's really complex. Then I started to create symbols. So it's been a lot about symbols and that represent something for me. And I decided to paint all about life. It's called All About Life. So I've diverted life into 4 stages, which are just more like a metaphorism. We have the childhood, we have the adult times, the older times, and then also the death and sexuality, which kind of are connected linked because the death means that's the basic of even having a new life. Otherwise it's not possible if everybody's just gonna be alive forever, and sexuality will create new life. And I can get into this even thinking of being an old person and say I look back to what I've done. I take maybe a glass of wine and I'm kind of maybe proud of what I've done and grateful, and I will share the fruits of my life. It's also about sharing, I think, at a certain time in life. And but this painting was really important for me to understand my concept of living, and that these times, they should not be connected to really the age you have. it's more like a mindset that would be so cool to be able to switch, so we don't have to decide to be, oh, now I'm adult and I'm really rational and I'm always thinking of getting more money and, raising in my career, and be the best mother I can and an idol for my children, whatever, all this pressure. It's, I think, very important also in the time I am now in my life to go back and to be very childish. Yeah, especially in my arts, actually. I want to go back into this very childish period of time where you are without pressure. It's just trying, it's just playing around, and it does not have to be this piece or something. It does not have to be sold. When I do arts, actually, I really need to go there, but me with the wisdom of somebody older. So yeah.
you go deep in your art.
Maybe too deep. Like too deep can make you mad or crazy. But yes, I'm dealing with that too. I'm interested in going deeper and deeper and understanding more and more. And it's also the big challenge to always get back again from the whole complexity and break it down to something that I understand, like this,
So hard times. Does it make a deeper impact on your artwork?
Absolutely. That's what I said about the inspiration. The more chaos I have inside me, the harder it is to handle this chaos. And I mean, chaos is often created by either influence from outside, like people would tell me things, and this would be for me like irritating or maybe insulting or maybe making me question myself, like where am I in life? Like, for example, I do custom jobs. I have to be honest. Yes, I have not gone the path of saying with 18 years old, okay, I will paint whatever, and let's see if there is maybe a cool galleries that will take my piece and make it big. And maybe I've decided well to go the other path, to say, okay, I will just have maybe little jobs and but many many little jobs. I've been very young and I didn't know where this path will go in the end, and I was very sure if I will improve, if I will get deeper, I will also get higher somehow. But what I've seen is like, okay, when I do more and more of the entertainment, I have to mention, actually, I haven't said it yet. Actually, I draw a lot of faces live. I've done it for 20 years now. I've drawn so many caricatures, especially between 18 and 30. I've drawn about 20,000 of caricatures. Wow. And then it's been kind of enough. Like, my mind was like, okay, another one. And I'm not so much into more of the same. I'm more like creating something new. And this was tiring a bit, and then actually I've been performing in a TV show, and that has been my first time in my life to do let's call it speed painting performance. And there has been some entertainment aspect, but also kind of some complexity in a way that actually I was like, okay, my approach was, I want to test the judges, so I changed the system. If they are able to watch until the end, then I'm willing to give them a show next time. But I will not, dress up with, blinking stuff and glitter and whatever, and, be like, oh, I'm the next star. I was like very nervous, and I wanted to be authentic, even in such a setting. And in the end, it was first very bad because they threw me out with their buzzers. But then people, even the judges, changed their opinion, because then when they've seen what I've done in the end, they were amazed. And also the same was the audience was pleased too, and is surprised. And from then on, I built up also kind of a career as a speed painter artist. Now I'm in a time that I would love so much to go deeper, because that's always entertainment, and sometimes I can, even when it comes to entertainment, you can still go deep, you can still have an extra meaning. And I've performed sometimes for like Climate Now, and it's been about climate change and varies with lots of symbols, and so topics that are important for me. But I feel like, okay, I'm a bit judged when it comes to the higher arts. Maybe it's not so easy for me anymore to enter that world, because it's like, okay, you've done jobs, you do custom work, so you are not a real artist. It's like, this at the time right now, it's a bit so I get maybe somebody questioning that, and then it makes a huge thing with me, like, oh, should I have realized that already in the young age, that if I go that path, the other path will be blocked for me? Now I would say, let's not get anyhow negative. It's just again, like at that time, it's like I have my passion and I life, the tools that I want to use and improve and find my own artistic expression again and again. And right now I have many ideas that I want to follow. And I know it's going to be very hard to get into the next world. I mean, this world with galleries and all that, that's different world than the world of entertainment. I will focus to expressing my own ideas and concepts and feelings to get, really get out the feelings and bring them into my art, and maybe not really caring about will this ever be sold. And on the other hand, I will still always do shows. Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier that was your first time doing a speed painting ever, yeah. Or like
ever. I've been asked to do a show, and I've never done a show before. Of course, I had to come up with an idea, with a concept. I don't love to practice a lot. I've mentioned that in the context of music, and I had to practice because I painted invisible upside down, both hands. So if you don't practice at all, that's going to be a huge mess. And that's not going to be a nice feeling if you're on stage without any control. And I'm glad I've changed so many times how to paint it. So because I was not fast enough, and the glue I use, the one glue was dried after like half a minute, and there was a good glue, and another glue was, like liquoring down. And so even the technique was so hard to find. And so that's why I had to change over and over again, the whole thing. And in the end, on stage, I have just had to change it again because they, were stressing me out like hell with pushing all the buzzers. Uh-huh. So actually, that was a good basic. So I could profit from the progress that had made me very flexible in how to paint it. So on stage, I would just paint it again in a totally different way. So and I'm glad it came out at least the way it came. I mean, it came out still in a way that, first of all, I've been very ashamed of what I've done. It was like, it's on TV now. But I would say now it's been 3.5 minutes. I've created like something that involved two people, sketch and still like a painting. So it's not much time in the end. And for the first time, I did well. Even rather when it comes to being viral, I did too well because it's hard to top this. It keeps me from being a person that invests too much time into the internet, because if you've been viral like this, I mean, there's videos out there with like 60 million views, and sometimes they make compilations, and then I'm one of 3, and sometimes you have so many 100 million views just in one summer, and you see, okay, it's going viral there, and there. And actually, the result is not even one job sometimes, it's like, okay, how many people have seen it? Like every 80th person, if it's only 100 million. And it's been over 1 billion now. So that does not mean you have like jobs all over the world all the time. It does not make you a superstar. So for me, it's like, I mean, I would not invest too much into, being always in the web and trying to be viral, because it's such a coincidence if you're going to be viral or not. And it's not all in your power. Or you're going to build up by really sharing every single day stuff, and have a huge concept. And I mean, you can do that, of course, but I'm just not the person to follow easily something that I will do in my own four walls. Like if I had to create videos all by myself, like every week, 1, 2, I would not do it, because it's too, in my own cell. It's like not interactive enough for me. So it's a question of who you are. But so this video has helped me also to find out, okay, the viral insanity it can be interesting. And I've had the pleasure of painting Queen Margaret. Thanks to this, I've had the pleasure of, meeting and painting Ronan Keating, or painting for Jackie Chan in China. So I could do some things that were like crazy, and even I would say this 80 square meter painting, which is not a show at all. That's really serious art, it's like really, probably always with a twinkle in the eyes in some aspects. But, in the end, this was my expression, but everything guides into the next thing, this has been the basic, and I go on from there. And then, but I would not reduce myself to that, because that has been one thing, and I've done so many other things. It's about the energy, but it's also about the belief. Like it's maybe worth to just try. And I mean, like a farmer, you go out and spread your seed. It's you have to understand it the right way. And then at somewhere you look back and like, okay, I've tried this, and this is growing. So, but first you have to kind of believe that it's going to be worth it. And I believe it makes our life rich to, spread our thoughts. It makes our life rich to, try to give something to the world. And I think this is the most rewarding life, because the world will probably give you something back.
Yeah. I wanted to go back to that experience of you with the audience and the judges. And, for the audience who's listening to this podcast, and if they don't know the context, Corinne was on a show, and it's a talent show, and this went viral. She was, doing her art, doing her creativity, and like you mentioned, the judges were just buzzing you. How did that affect you in the moment?
It has been insane, actually, in that very moment, because I've already entered the stage, and I've been so kind of weak, because the time before the show was really tough to me. Like, you have to practice. You are never finished. You are never there, because it's not my job. They have many professionals they ask for their show. So you have to compete with people. They've been doing what they do for 10 or 20 years. Even a child, even if a child is, or a young person is 17, for example, many of those people of the young artists who perform there, they're actually already doing what they do for many, many years. So I've really just started, a few weeks ago. And the only thing I could do was like this one painting, or you know what I mean? Like a dancer probably is able to do so many dances and so many styles. So I was under pressure a lot. But then also you have to show them videos, and then, talk about what you are going to wear. And so before the show, you have a little interview, you have a photo shooting all the minutes before the show. And in the very last minutes before the show, I was told to go into a room where have been many, there's been lots of artistic things around. And I was told to look around and, get inspired. In the end, you are very nervous, you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen afterwards? So, okay, I played the game, and I had to go there and do what they told me to do. And then in that very few moments before the show, they even came with the camera team and asked me to do a caricature of the host. And I mean, that's at that time, that has been my number one money business. I mean, imagine, I've had already 2 children at the time. And so if you do the worst drawing that you've ever done in your life, because actually you're focusing, I mean, it's a lot about focus, right, in life. Mm-hmm. And I've actually tried to focus and not to get distorted too much by everything around me already. So it's been already hard enough. And then I'm asked to do what my actual job is. So it's really about, okay, now I have to do a commercial kind of, to show my skills in something else. It's like another region of my head, actually. It's not exactly the same place. And so I was like getting a bit of an irony about everything. Like the few minutes before the show, I was like, okay, so can I even take it serious anymore? So after the photo shooting, the interview and all that, there's a bit of a stress. Then I even have to prove my skills now. So I've just done some sketching. I even didn't have any place to do it properly, just did it on my knees and was not comfortable and everything. And then I was like, okay, now in 3 minutes, I think I'm on stage, because already the artist that is before me is on stage, and I didn't have any of my material ready, because it was all, the glue was in a glass that's my material, I didn't have any experience. So the glue was, in a glass that you have to turn with lots of, put a lot of stuff around it to make sure it's not gonna liquor. And then, that thing that I threw, I had to make sure it's gonna be loose enough and not gonna be, too stiff and to put together. So I was so stressed up the minutes before the show. I was like, are you actually kidding me? I was already a bit like, that does not help to focus people. It's so stressful. And then finally I could just finishing, putting all my pencils. I have pencils. You have to do like this thing. So to make them be liquid, and, that the glue, that the painting is really coming out of the pencils. You maybe know this kind of, so they are not working usually. You really have to put the ink through it to make sure they're gonna do their job afterwards. And on stage, you don't have the time to activate actually all the pencils. So I was going on stage and like, okay, now I have to play the easy artist that kind of knows what she's doing, and there's maybe even like who believes in herself. And it's been really nearly impossible for me to play that role. It was like I could have just sat there and say, people, I'm not able, after all, I'm here, my energy is zero. And so when I started, I was like, okay, it's such a nightmare, everything. And then came the first bus. I was like, okay, now also this. Actually, it was just going on the way it has been the minutes before. So, okay, now we have a bus or so. I thought, let's just try to focus on your thing and let's put some irony in the situation, because that's actually one of my favorite ways of dealing with many problems. Like, just make it an irony, kind of look it from an irony aspect or point of view, and or see the irony in a situation. I was like, okay, now I get fast. So I was like, making like this and looking at them back.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, okay, maybe it's the only one. Like, I was trying to communicate there will be more. Then I realized, okay, there's a second one. That's already 50%, for people, 2 buzzers. And then I was like, okay, it's getting serious. Third one, fourth one. Actually, there've been 6. I don't know who pushed all those buzzers, but you can push it more than once. So I couldn't count. For me, when you are that stressed, for me it was like 8 or 10. I couldn't count. It was like bang, 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 sometimes 2 together. I was like, okay, they're really mocking me. I mean, they actually actively hate me. I mean, they've chosen me to, just destroy me. So I was like, it was getting desperate. I was getting angry. And I mean, of course, I did not believe in being anyhow gifted or anyhow good or anyhow being the one that's going to be the most viral in that episode ever. I mean, I would know it. There's no other video so far that has been more viral. So it's not been a comfortable situation. And the belief in myself was not really there. The only belief was like, if I don't finish, I've lost anyways. And if I finish, there might be a little chance that maybe they still get at least what I tried. I might not really show the best version, but at least maybe they will understand what I've had in my mind. And I think that's maybe something that your audience can kind of keep in mind. If you don't try, you've already lost. It does not change the world at all if I don't do it, but kind of, if I don't do it, I've already lost. So by even trying, I think I've already succeeded. It's not that I fail because they will not react the way I want, I don't fail because the doors will not open. It's, for me, I've already succeeded by, going to that door and knock, and maybe door is closed, but, maybe another door is going to open. And I think that's a quite good approach in life to say, it's not about succeeding in the traditional way of thinking. Society is really having a very uncreative interpretation of this whole success. Success is so much about, so how much do you earn now? Boring. It's just so boring. It's such a limited way of thinking. Of course, if you're nearly about to starve, or if it's really about life and death, we don't talk about that. It's like when we talk about success, and then it comes to way different aspects. Of course, you have to earn a bit of money, and so you are able to invest again. And of course, it would also help me to be a billionaire or whatever insane thing, and I could go way bigger because you have so much more power. But would I meet the nicer people because of that? Maybe not. Maybe there's, let's not go into that too much. But I don't like so much the definition of success we have in this world. It's so much relied to this, this going up in the way of capitalism thinking and capitalistic thinking. It's not really involving also the whole 3-dimensional world that I see. It's more like, for me, I have a family, I have children, I have a husband, I have friends. For me, success is to have an interesting life that is depending on where you are, depending on your ideas. You can always create a new path. You can go to a new path and or choose a new path and follow it. And for me, it's way more this flexibility to say, now what does my life need now? So my life is, okay, I have children, so my life is split up in these, okay, I'm a mother and I spend time with them and I want to have fun time and but also like important conversation and everything and unique experience, but also I want to be an artist and grow as an artist, and I don't know what I want in 5 years, but for me it's way more about that than about this monetary aspect.
How did you feel seeing that your work was being reposted a million times and like there's no credit? How did that make you feel? Like,
oh, you say that too. Yeah. That's absolutely the point that I love that you ended by, and you didn't get the credit. It's first I was like, oh my gosh. As I mentioned, I mean, I was not so convinced about the thing I've done. I was even like, oh, I hope they will just realize it's bad and not even bring it in TV. But there is no control over that, and they have chosen to bring me in TV. And I was like, okay, they're gonna roast me. I mean, in a way, like they will always like another bad artist and celebrate that in this way. And I was really astonished that I've been somebody to always been shown before other like emissions of this talent show, and so I came over and over different little aspects of this show that I've done before it really was put in TV. So they actually used me to get people curious, and so people were like connecting, like, okay, somebody is there and she cried in the end. So of course, it's a good, I was a bit of a cliffhanger. So to, get people in front of the TV, and so it was in TV and was like having a huge attack. Actually was like really physically reacting. It was like my body was knowing, okay, the way they cut it together, because I've not seen it before. I've only gotten, journalists asking me about it, and they were really positive. Like, yeah, it's so cool. I was like, you consider this to be good? Oh, okay. Because I really didn't know if I was gonna be the black sheep or the hero. You don't know it. It's so much about editing and about their point of view, what they want. And so then it was in TV, and I was like, okay, oh my god, and I had like really a huge cramp. Oh, now they're ringing. First, I was like very surprised that it was just suddenly it's in the internet, and it's having over 1 million views. So that was kind of a new experience for me, like people commenting, and I would start reading, and I was like getting lost a bit in the comments, and then suddenly you have this second video that's going viral too. It's like, okay, it's not just the video, it's it's another one and another one, and they came from all the corners of the world. It's like a bit touring there, and then it's gonna be touring there, and then it's gonna just suddenly it's been all over the world. You can't predict where it's gonna be viral, and you can't predict what's gonna happen. And then that's actually the thing. I was like, okay, so I mean that's the real world and that's the virtual world. I mean, what is actually happening in the real world? And like, so the requests in the real world for me doing work were not that interesting at that time. It was like a lot, but it was not what I was hoping for. It was not like, hey, come to that cool show and tell your story or do some cool performance, and something that will reach more people, and I, can maybe work internationally. Like I was kind of hoping for the settings that would come way later, like many years later. They would ask me to paint the Queen, for example, or would bring me to China. At the first moment, it was a bit frustrating, actually. Like after the first time that I was like excited about it, and like, wow, I'm viral and a lot and many million people, and wow, that's like already so many people have seen it, and it doesn't stop. It's still more and more, and then people around me would tell me, now you have like a certain time that you have to use, and in that certain amount of time you have to come up with something. So I was like feeling lots of pressure because I didn't really know what was the right thing to do now. Sometimes I just got lost a bit in the comments, and then sadly, actually, after a while of being viral and after a while of getting more and more frustrated because of there was no credits, and also my accounts were not growing really accordingly. It was sometimes sometimes a new build account on YouTube with my video, and this account had so many more, followers than my accounts would have. It was like, okay, it's actually my videos, and then actually no credits for me, and this account is huge now, and this is just my video viral and a few videos that have hardly any clicks and views. So I was like, a bit, they take something from me, and it has taken a while to kind of get it, and it's just the rules in the internet, and you will always get also something out of it, and it's also not the main focus. But what I wanted to say before is like, after a while, actually I became viral, like physically, like, I had really like a time that I've been always just sick, so I've started to perform and create new shows that I've never done before, because as mentioned, that's been my first show. So I've come up with new techniques and new styles, and to kind of please the people, and still something that you are kind of able to do, at least in maybe this 5 minutes. And so there's been such a huge pressure on me and such a huge challenge to come up with new concepts and sell them, and like try to profit from the whole viral thing. And this whole pressure guided into me being very sick. And so that's been a time when I've realized, okay, I can't do it all on my own anymore. And also my husband, he was starting to help a lot with, office and all that. And also I've been hacked at the same time.
Oh my God.
Also with this being viral, you get hacked. So, you lose control over your agenda, and you lose control over so many things at the same time. And I didn't have any control over my body, kind of. I just went to my jobs with, some medicine, and that does not really help either. And then I realized I really have to change something. So like probably build a wall. I'm not really a fan of building walls, but like an emotional wall between the virtual world and the real world. So I decided from now on, there is like a rule: whatever happens in there is in there, and whatever happens in the real world is way more interesting for me. So if there's a person online seeing me and like you getting in touch with me because this person wants something real. For me, if we talk together here, that's not even for me something really, how to say, that's for me not really just virtual. That's for me a real experience, because I'm here and talking. I'm not just writing and consuming. And so of course those two worlds, they are linked nowadays, especially. But I really was focusing so much on who is really interested in, kind of interacting with me, or would even hire me as an artist, or want to collaborate with me. And either you have a job that is going to be interesting for you as an artist, like the content is interesting, or maybe you get okay money. That's also a reason to do things, of course. It has to be. And so I was really just judging, is it going on in the real life or is it not? And if it's not, if it's only about communicating in the virtual world, I would not really follow that anymore.
What would you say is your truth that heals?
I don't know if I can call it a truth, but it's my truth. It's like to answer this question about the whole meaning of life. And after so many years of asking myself, which is the meaning of life? So where to go, what to do? Because if you find it, of course, you should, I think, plan your life accordingly. And at some point, I came to the understanding that there is no meaning in life. And this is not, I'm not here to spread any negativity. It's more like this has put so much pressure off me to just say there is no higher meaning. I'm just here, and there's absolutely no pressure, and kind of, it's more like a coincidence that I exist. It's even maybe a little bit funny, it's like such a coincidence that I'm here, and it's actually such a gift, you have this life, and you can create something out of that life. It's like you go your own unique path, and so that leaves everything so open, because there's not this one answer for me. And this brought also the aspect of seeing life as something very playful back. Like, I mean, if there's no meaning, actually, you can also just go and have parties sometimes. It's not always just about, finding the deeper answers. It's like, I have my answer now. I don't have to dig deeper. It's about not having to decide. This is also one very important thing I want to mention. I allow myself to not to have to decide. Like, if it's one aspect is interesting and another one, like, for example, is it ascesis? Is it something which you say, or hedonism? Like, would you, be driven by eating and consuming a lot, or would you rather say, no, I try to go the pure way and, have control over my body and my thought? I think both ways of living are so interesting, and I try to, have a combination of the both. So I think this kind of flexible thinking of allowing yourself to switch in between those worlds and or even more worlds, that makes life very rich and a bit playful. Actually, I live the way right now to as simple as it sounds, like, okay, what is it right now that makes my life better? And to find out what it is not always that easy, but it's very interesting to ask us this in a very honest way, and then always find answers and live accordingly, and like maybe write it down and really follow that. So that's something maybe this works for people around too, and it's something that works for me, and maybe I'm interested, maybe I will see some comments what of all these things that I've said could work for you too.
Thank you for all that you've shared today.
Thank you too so much for asking those interesting questions and let me talk so long. Sometimes I would maybe suddenly flip into another topic, and I hope it's been interesting to follow that, and I wish you many more interesting conversations and people that you meet through that. And for me, it's been very interesting to connect so deeply in that short time, like you're a person that has a good attitude, so you're very authentic, and that makes it so easy to share all this with you and your followers and your audience.